Hey, how you doing? It's your boy BrogiNaric back again with another review. And in this video, I'm going to be reviewing the MCU's latest film, Black Widow, which recently was released in theaters and is available on Disney Plus for $30. And before I get into this video, don't forget to like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel. Now, this will be a non-spoiler review, but I will get into a couple of spoilers towards the end of the video. If you want to just jump to that, you can click the timestamp in the descriptions. But early on, we'll go non-spoilers, a little bit of spoilers at the end. And so let's hop into it. This is the long-awaited, the long-anticipated return of the MCU because COVID happened, and I remember like a year ago, the internet was trying to tell me that the MCU was dead after just 1 year of Infinity War and Endgame. No, of Endgame. The internet was just like, "Hey, MCU's dead now," and I'm like, "It's not. They literally have Disney Plus shows and a bunch of movies they're planning. It's just they gotta wait." So apparently the MCU is no longer dead because hey, they have content now, and this is the first film of Phase 4, right? Yeah, Phase 4. Where they're finally rolling it out. The long anticipated Black Widow film starring Scarlett Johansson, and I'm happy that this film is out. Personally, I thought this film should have happened earlier. I remember right after Captain America Winter Soldier and that whole ending with Black Widow talking to Congress and all of that. I literally thought like, okay, and then now we're gonna get a Black Widow movie, and they said no, we'll wait till after she's dead to give you a movie. Weird, but that's the situation we're in. And I was kind of off and on about whether I was excited for this. Then I kind of wasn't, but then as the time went on and there was nothing, I'm like, you know what, just give it to me. And I was pleasantly pleased with this film. Really good movie. And the quick synopsis is basically this is set place like a couple of days after Civil War, and but before Infinity War. So she's on the run. She reconnects with her family, and she discovers that the Red Room is still active. The people that trained her, and they're planning to take over the world. So she has to unite with her family to save the world from the Red Room. That's essentially what's going on. And like I said, really good movie. My main positives are the action. It's definitely taking a hint of or a note from Captain America Winter Soldier with the action is very gritty. They probably had like the same stunt coordinators working on this. Pretty gritty at times, but it's also still the spectacle of it in the MCU style. But it's also kind of the language is a little rougher, kind of like with Winter Soldier. There was a lot more cursing in that movie. It's kind of in this one as well. This movie touches on some dark themes, which, I mean, if you're doing Black Widow, there are dark themes with her. And this film, it is a Disney movie, so they touch on it. They don't go into it as deep as I would have liked. But the fact that how much of it they touched on, how much there's a good amount of violence towards the women that I was kind of surprised by, that really, I thought, enhanced the film in a way. The cast is really good. All the new characters I enjoy, but specifically David Harbour as the Red Guardian and Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova are the two standouts of this film. David Harbour is great. He's gone for a while in the beginning, but it's kind of about the halfway point when he comes back in. He really injects his humor and charisma to the film. And Florence Pugh is really good as Yelena. I was first introduced to her in the Midsommar movie, and she does a great job in this film as sort of Black Widow's sister, and their kind of back and forth is good. The humor is good in this. It doesn't, me personally, it doesn't go overboard with the humor. That's kind of one of Marvel's crutches and sort of negatives is that they lean too much on the humor, and I think the humor in this film is a good balance of humor comedy. I don't think it goes too overboard with the humor. Your mileage may vary. There's good character development for the Black Widow character. I will say they did. I was a little confused at the beginning. I was afraid of what they were doing, but as the story plays out, you get more of Natasha's upbringing. There's a lot of secrets and things that have been hinted throughout the previous movies. We get answers to. Not gonna say what those things are, but There's one particular thing that's always mentioned. They actually finally explain what it was, what happened, which was pretty cool. Um, the main villain I actually liked. I'm not gonna say who the main villain is, because we know who the villain is in the trailers, but there's a person behind the person. I like the character. Very simple, very simplistic, I would say, but it works as a character, as a villain. He plays his role very well. You've seen this character, this archetype before, which is another one of the positives. Is this film is it's kind of got like an '80s action movie vibe to it, where like the way the villain is and how there's the humor, but the action is still kind of very not grounded, but very gritty at times. Like not Scarlet Witch. Black Widow is getting her ass kicked. Scarlett Johansson is getting her ass kicked a lot. And she's kind of got that John McClane vibe to it, where it's like a normal person should not survive that, but she's getting through it, but she's also selling the effects of the injuries. You see her bleeding. You see her scuffed up. Everyone is like that, and I appreciate that. Sometimes you have action movies, people get thrown around, and there's no bruises. They might say ow. They may hold their arm or their shoulder for like 3 seconds, and then the next thing they're lifting a car or some bullshit. So, I liked all of that. Now, my negatives, there's not really that many negatives. The main negative, and a lot of people are upset about, is the handling of Taskmaster, which I like the Taskmaster as a character. I like the character. In this movie, I like this version of the Taskmaster. But the character was surprisingly underutilized. Like, I thought the character was going to be in this way more than it was. There is a twist to the reveal. It's kind of obvious once the person who I thought was going to be Taskmaster wasn't. I was like, oh, well, it's that person. And it was a little underwhelming. And like I said, the character, there was no real strong... There's a connection, but it's not as strong as I would have wanted it to be. And like I said, the character is barely in this in terms of what I expected for like a MCU Marvel villain. Barely in this. And this is, once again, this is just one version of Taskmaster. And some of the Russian accents are a little iffy, but that's to be expected when most of the people in the movie aren't Russian. But those are those are the negatives and positives. Other members, Scarlett Johansson's really great as Natasha. I really loved seeing Rachel Weisz in this movie. I haven't seen her in a while. I'm pretty sure she's still been acting, but it was cool to see her in this film. She's great as Melina. She got some cool action moments, and I love her chemistry. Her chemistry, I mean, like I said, the main cast chemistry is great, but her chemistry with David Harbour is really good, and some of her stuff with her and Scarlett is really good as well. Solid MCU film. I would say this is better than Captain Marvel if you're going to compare the two female-led movies. I guess if you want to throw in WandaVision in there as well. I like this more than WandaVision a little bit. I guess because it's a little more contained, I guess. But in terms of movies, I would say this is definitely one of the better, one of the best female-led superhero movies, because that's a very low bar. This is automatically in the top 3. And it's one of the better MCU films. I wouldn't say it's the greatest. In terms of like the solo hero movies, it's solid. I like more than the Ant-Man movies. I like more than Captain Marvel. More than the first 2 Thor movies. More than that. Maybe not more than Doctor Strange. It's about in that Doctor Strange level is where I would put it. But yeah, it's not a waste of time. It's cool. The end credit scene is really good. I'll get to that in spoilers. So as a whole, if I had to grade Black Widow, my grade would be a B or a 7.5 out of 10. Really good film. It's definitely, especially if you want some action, you want some humor, you want to get that MCU fix. I think it's a solid film. And like I said, the end credit scene definitely is really cool, especially if you've been watching a certain Disney Plus series. You'll be rewarded for your participation in the MCU, ecosystem, I guess you could say. And can't wait to see where that goes. But solid film. Check it out in theaters on Disney Plus for $30 if you want to drop it. And Stick around for spoilers. I will get into a couple of spoilers. Not gonna get into everything, but a few spoilers. But that's my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Now, stick around for spoilers. All right, so let's get into spoilers. When the film started off with them in Ohio, I was a little concerned. She's there with the family, and I'm like, did they change this? Like, are they legitimately a family, or is this like an implanted memory, or are they playing to be a family? And thank God they were playing to be a family because it was kind of bugging me because I was like, why are they a family? Like, she doesn't have a family technically, like, or at least like she wasn't raised by her biological family. So I like that that was cool. They were all on a mission. It was all for fake, although it was real because that's like the closest thing to a family either Natasha or Yelena had ever had, and I liked how they exposed that. So that was cool, especially that action sequence with them escaping. David Harbour on the plane with the gun, and Natasha has to fly the plane because the mom got shot. Like that was cool. Like I said, the action's really good. I don't think any of it is too spectacular, but it's not bad at the same time. It's not necessarily forgetful like some of the Marvel action sequences can be. My favorite scene, though, is when they break Red Guardian out of prison. That whole sequence is great, and I love, like I said, David Harbour. Once he comes back in, he brings a lot of humor. He's like very obsessed. He tells these stories about how him and Captain America fought, although him and Captain America never met each other. And I kind of like how he's like obsessed with thinking that Captain America thinks about him because he thinks about Captain America all the time. It's not necessarily just like a hatred; it's more just like a sort of healthy competitiveness between the two. Even though, like I said, Steve knows nothing about this guy, or at least doesn't give a shit about him. And there was the whole thing with the red room and them touching on. So like in a way, it was like child trafficking, child abuse, women abuse, sort of women being overlooked, and like the bad guy, what was his name? General Dreykov, played by Ray Winstone. He was cool. He's just evil business guy, essentially, although he runs the Red Room. Russian general who's still, he's secretly got all these different female agents who are under his control, and he can like turn the switch and have them fuck something up quickly and kind of stay hidden. Like he's been hidden for all these years. And he was interesting, especially that whole moment where he's telling when Black Widow's there to kill him. Like that whole scene was really good, where she's there to kill him, but she can't kill him because of the whole pheromones thing. But I do like that they show that Milena had told Natasha this beforehand, so she didn't go in blind, and she was setting him up to try to get access to his mind control computer thing. That was cool, especially that it was especially interesting how many scenes of him punching Natasha in the face that they had. I was surprised at that, and I like how that played into the plot. It was well thought out. I would say very well thought out. The action sequences with Taskmaster were cool too. Especially that first one, when he pulls up on Black Widow to try to get the antidote stuff. That was really cool. The scene with him and chasing them with the bow and arrow was good, and chasing them into the trains, the subways, really good. I knew Taskmaster just looking at the trailer. I was like, Taskmaster's like probably about like 3 seconds after I watched the first trailer. I was like, Taskmaster is Rachel Weisz. I'm calling it now. Her character is going to be Taskmaster. Turns out her character wasn't Taskmaster, but it was a woman. I knew if it wasn't going to be her, I knew Taskmaster was going to be a woman. It's just one of those things where I'm like, it's going to be a woman. I just know it. I have no problem with that, but I knew that was going to be the case. I remember some people thinking the random black guy that was in the cast, they thought he was going to be Taskmaster for some reason. He's not. He's this character called Mason, who is essentially one of Natasha's few friends. He's like her guide. Like when she needs, like, I need some weapons, I need a car, and I need a jet. He's the guy that gets it for her. I need somewhere to stay, I'm on the run. He's the guy that gets it for her. And that's essentially what his character was. And the Taskmaster turned out to be the daughter of the main bad guy, who Natasha And I like that they made Natasha kind of, it was kind of fucked up thing where she ended up killing this guy's daughter in an attempt to kill him because that was her way to get out of, to defect from Russia to get to America to join Shield. She had to take out the Red Room, so she used the daughter as bait when she was in the building. They had the bomb set up, and then she told Shield that he's in there, and they, you know, ignited the bombs and hopefully killed him. Turns out he didn't die, and as soon as I saw the scene where it was Rachel Weisz and Taskmaster standing there face to face, I was like, well, it's got to be the daughter at this point. Like movie writing 101. If he survived, then she survived, and that was the case. It was his daughter. Taskmaster is a little bit different in this, where Taskmaster is like more of a bit of a cyborg. Well, not a bit. It's a cyborg, basically. Human technology, and the helmet helps, and I guess the technology in her eyes help her mimic a person's movements, and that's how she can mimic their abilities just by seeing them either in front of her or seeing footage of it. And it was it was underwhelming. It was like it made sense for the plot, but it was still underwhelming. It was like, oh, it's this random girl that we saw on the screen for like 3 seconds before she died. That's Taskmaster. I'm like, all right. Like, even if it wasn't her, it still would have been underwhelming because no one gives a shit about Taskmaster outside of the costume. If he's not wearing the costume, who gives a fuck? So the suit was cool. If the movie would have had more action sequences, maybe if the character had, actual dialogue, something to get like emotionally attached to the character outside of, hey, I know that character from that thing. It just was underwhelming. And like I said, I get what they were trying to go for, but it just didn't work. Now, that being said, like I said in my non-spoiler review, with the way the movie ends, someone can easily be put into the Taskmaster program and take over and become more like the Taskmaster, the traditional version of Taskmaster. So I'm not going to get too upset about it. It could be another person who'll take the suit eventually. Trust me, they'll probably pop up in fucking Hawkeye, or they'll pop up in some other movie at some point, and bam, it's a new Taskmaster. Because I don't think it's going to be the same chick anymore. That would be kind of fucked up if it was the same girl, because she was clearly being forced to do. Yeah, that's the other thing. Women being forced to do things that they don't want to do. Big theme in the film. I think they handled all that stuff pretty well. I wish they could have went more into it, but it's Disney. They can't do but so much. If it was Netflix, that would have been the whole fucking show, kind of like Jessica Jones. But yeah, that was the main things. Like I said, I wish this movie would have came out before Infinity War, because knowing she dies in Endgame, I know how this is going to end. She's going to survive because she doesn't die until Endgame, so it kind of ruins the majority of the tension. At the end of it, it's like, yeah, I know she's going to live. Everything's blowing up around her in the sky Red Room thing, and I'm like, well, she lives because I know she doesn't die until she falls off the cliff. So it's like, well, whatever. And the post-credit scene was really cool. It ends after Endgame, and Yelena is, she's been freed for like, I guess it's been like 6-7 years, and she goes to Natasha's gravesite, and she's looking at it, and then friggin' Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character pops up, and she's just being annoying, and she's like, yeah, well, she's dead, and you got a new assignment because she's working for her. If her character, was it Valentina or something? I can't remember. She popped up at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where she hires another superpowered super soldier to work for her, and she's building, whoever she's working for, she's building some sort of team. I think it's going to be the MCU's version of the Thunderbolts, which is, originally it was a team that was created by Baron Zemo, where they were a bunch of supervillains pretending to be superheroes, and to get the public on their side. Then they turned and revealed that they're villains, and then at some point they were rebooted to be like Marvel's Suicide Squad, and I think that's more the version they're going to go with in the MCU. And she tells Yelena, like, hey, you got a new assignment, and it's the person who's responsible for killing your sister. How does she has that information? I don't know, but it's Hawkeye, Clint Barton, which he's not responsible, but like, it's interesting that that's the narrative she's going with. And yeah, so either she's gonna pop up in the Hawkeye series, I'm assuming, or this might be another movie. I don't know, but I thought that was very interesting. end credit scene. I was not expecting to see her pop up, so they got me excited. It got me a little more excited for what's going to happen in the Hawkeye series, because I'm not too excited about that, but you know, it got me a little more excited. I like when these things kind of intertwine, and I'm liking to see the level of overlapping that the Disney Plus shows is going to have with the main movies. And I think that was that was interesting how they did that, because if you don't know the character from Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier, you at least know Julia Louis Dreyfus, so you're like, oh, what is she doing? You know, so I thought it was handled well. Like I said, all in all, good film. That's all I got to say about Black Widow. Let me know what you thought about it once again in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more videos. Peace.